Good morning, good morning. Okay, technical difficulty. Cameron appears to be unplugged.
Now I can hear.
There we go. Okay, we're looking for the his extension got unplugged. Okay, good morning. Welcome back, brother. It's been a hot minute.
Thanks.
How was your 2-week vacation?
Not a vacation. 2-week vacation. Bro, if it was a 2-week vacation, I might not have come back.
That is the inherent risk, no doubt. But it's good to have you back in the studio, and we're going to cover some stuff this morning. I see Danny had first blood there, Fit Life with Danielle, and I see Fish and Golf and Pitt. Danny, good morning, gents. Jen's with us this morning. Hey, and Gabriella. Hey, good morning, guys. I hope you've got a good hot cup of get shit done.
Hey, and just real quick.
And there's the Smudge. Good morning.
Yeah, just real quick. Applause for Danny. Dude, she cracked 1K.
Rock and roll.
Yes. Yes, who would have thought that talking about Weight Watchers points and chocolate hummus? And that is...
I missed the chocolate hummus.
There is chocolate hummus. There is... And I know how it sounds, but I've watched her make it, and I'm like, actually, it's probably like eating brownie batter. So it's probably delicious.
I'm not a big fan of hummus, so... But yeah, big ups to Danny for breaking a 1K. That's...
You're allowed to be wrong. You're not a big fan of hummus. That's okay. I'll just eat yours.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so...
I'll take your shrimp.
Yeah, but I like shrimp. There's the difference, bro. If I could just eat like all you can eat crab legs, I have an allergy to shrimp, crab, and lobster. I can eat fish. I can eat raw oysters. Had some a few weeks ago, but I cannot eat. Well, that's not true. I can eat them. I'll just get sick. You better have Benadryl ready. Anyhow, it's Woke Wednesday.
It is. And for Woke Wednesday, we're going to talk about the left-wing obsession with slavery. So, here's what's going on. There's a film that was just recently came out. We just went through its opening weekend called The Sound of Freedom. And to no one's surprise, Democrats and liberal Hollywood and their politicians hate The Sound of Freedom.
See, that's like a triple pun baked right into the sentence.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that just perfectly well done? Jim Caviezel is the star of the film, and it is a film about I forget the name of the Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard is the guy the movie's about. It is based on a true story, as I'm sure you can immediately assume, based on a true story. So we've taken a true story and elaborated a bit, but the important points
of the film, as I understand, in real life.
The relevant points are spot on. So I think I'm going to start with this article.
Well, real quick, just super quick. It was done in partnership with Angel Studios. Angel Studios, if you don't know, is the studio behind The Chosen.
Right.
The mini-series about the Gospels and Jesus. And I have not seen all 3 seasons of The Chosen. I've only seen like season 1. And it's excellently done. So when you say based on a true story, like there are certain things about like Jesus turning the water into wine at the wedding. Well, they play that whole thing out and show you setting up the wedding and show the guests coming in. None of that's in the Bible, but it makes for really good.
Right, in the Bible, it's a sentence.
Yeah, in the Bible, it's a few sentences.
On camera, it's a page.
Right. But the whole episode is about getting ready for the wedding and how big of a deal this is. So, of course, when you have the big dramatic moment when they run out of wine, well, it's a big dramatic moment that they've run out of wine. Angel Studios, and I say that to say Angel Studios, like any other adaptation, takes some liberties, but they stay true to the spirit of the thing that they do. Have they followed the Gospels, like, to the letter? I guess you could say that they have, because, like the Gospel of Matthew's like 38 pages, right? So, but I would actually, just based on what I've seen from The Chosen, I would trust their based on a true story more than I would trust most other based on a true stories, because they stay true to the spirit underneath the story they are telling. And that's important.
So it's not like Audie Murphy, where where the based on a true story was, no, we have to tone down the superhero stuff here.
Dude, Audie Murphy is
because
his
the
own
true
thing.
story is so unbelievable.
I just hopped on a 50 and got wounded and still held everybody off. Yeah, I know, but you can't put that in the movie. Nobody will believe that. But that's what happened. Yeah, but I don't even believe it. I'm Audie Murphy.
So, The Sound of Freedom broke 40 million at the box office. Now, this is quite, Jim Caviezel's a name you know, right? He was Superman, right?
No, he was Jesus in The Passion of the Christ.
Okay, was he not in one of the comic book movies too?
I don't think so.
Or, anyway,
his biggest role was Jesus in The Passion of the Christ.
He was Christ in the Passion, yes. And so obviously he has a relationship with Mel, who is also vocal about the whole child sex trafficking trade. And wouldn't you know it, at the end of Pride Month, when we've been watching the left openly and actively abusing and grooming children in public, and then demanding that they be explicitly permitted by the law to do so, they have a problem with this film that says, hey, child sex trafficking is a thing and it's bad. And they just can't stand that. So I worked on some of this when I was still active duty, very briefly, but I did work around some of this. And let me explain you something. The thing that makes the child sex trafficking so difficult to deal with from a law enforcement or military interdiction perspective is they have a very clever organizational structure. The bad guys that do the bad shit here, the bosses that are making the money, are somewhere else. There are bad guy bosses doing bad shit who are here, but their operations are somewhere else. So if you've got somebody who is the kind of person you want to bust in the human sex trafficking world, and they're in your jurisdiction, they have not committed the crime in your jurisdiction. And if you bust somebody who is committing the crime in your jurisdiction, the guy that can just pluck somebody else off the street and drop them in to replace that crony on the ground is somewhere else. So every time you actually bust one of the operations, all the infrastructure that makes it happen is so far away that the law does not permit its active interdiction. Then you get the military involved, and you've got the big bad guys hiding behind international treaties and non-extradition countries, et cetera, and it becomes very, very difficult to actually disrupt the operation, right? So, go back and look at the Summer of Love for a minute. If you've got a bunch of BLM activists burn down a Target, well, Target still exists, and they can go build another one because the corporation isn't there, just that one operation is. It costs them money, it hurts the bottom line, but it doesn't stop the operation. Now imagine that on a global scale with people who are intentionally going out of their way to do crime because it is excruciatingly profitable. And Sound of Freedom is focused on the child sex trafficking piece, right? But I want you to understand something else about child trafficking. Sex trafficking isn't the only thing it's for. The open slave trade is still a thing in Africa and in China and in India and in many places around the world. And a lot of children who are trafficked not for sex are being trafficked into rare earth mineral mines. Right? That's your iPhones. That's your electric vehicle. Primarily your electric. That's what I was getting to. It's primarily your electric vehicles. in a huge way. And that right there, right, we could point the finger and say the left are a bunch of perverts and they're all about the child sex trafficking. But
they kind of are.
And true as that is, what they're really dedicated to is keeping that slave labor cranking out the support structure for the multi-billion-dollar climate alarmism industry. They have never stopped being pro-slavery. The best you can say about them is they became slavery-adjacent NIMBYists. Not in my backyard. I don't want to see the servants. Get them a side entrance. If you could put that side entrance on another continent, if you could put the servants' quarters across the sea, that'd be great. Thanks.
So the mentality of the left and the right differs here, even if you've got somebody on the left that's not specifically pro-slavery, their mentality allows room for it in a way that the right wing does not. And what I mean by that is it's the left that wants to class everybody into groups. Mm-hmm. You have the black vote. You have the gay vote.
Right.
You know,
the Hispanic vote, because they all vote the same.
Right. Well, but then you've got the left is the one who's obsessed with the rich. The left is the one who is obsessed with immigrants and so forth and so on. And so if you can take individual people, group them together into a monolith, you're literally only one or two steps away from slavery at that point. So I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. Just want to point out that's one of the biggest differences between the mentality of the right and the left. So, but anyhow, The Sound of Freedom. Man, I gotta tell you, like, I've seen people talking about this on Twitter. I have not yet seen The Sound of Freedom.
I haven't either. I haven't had time, and Jesus, I got to drag the kids out.
And yeah, I've also
probably not the film for the kids.
Or if you want them to behave, maybe it is the film for the kids. This is like The Boogeyman Will Come to Get You, only it's fucking real. Anyhow, the critical drinker recommends it. I tend to align with his film.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the critical drinker. He's my favorite train conductor. And
so, okay, I missed something.
Oh yeah, that's a deep nerd. He voices the scary train conductor in Dungeon Crawler Carl.
In that book series.
It's hilarious.
It is.
Go away now.
Yes, go Dogs. I wondered when I thought Danny would be the first one to see it. That's back-to-back national champion.
Fail Alabama? Is that a typo or a clever quip?
So, boy, that just threw me all off. So I'm just going to read something. The Fit Life with Danielle says, I likely won't actually watch the movie, but I have bought tickets and I will buy more. That actually allows me to segue back around. Danny, just so you know, I have watched a lot of film reviews of the movie, and they very carefully keep very graphic stuff off screen. It's all done through implication and assuming the audience is smart enough to understand what's happening. Now, if that would still make you cry and send you into like a week-long depression, then, don't go see the movie, because we all know what it's about. It's about kidnapping children and doing terrible things to them.
Right. And in contrast, the same people that are condemning Sound of Freedom because they're and we're going to make the argument that they're doing it because they're pro child abuse. They were all out in defense for the movie Cuties. And I did not watch Cuties, but I watched some clips.
I didn't watch Cuties because I didn't want to end up on a fucking watch list.
Right.
Like, ew.
But I watched some clips when we were reading articles and discussing why is this even a thing. And the thing about Cuties it didn't just, it wasn't just suggestive. It was very explicit with young girls, prepubescent girls, scantily clad little prostitutes, performing simulated sex acts on stage for the pleasure of adults. And this was a Netflix movie, or it was a movie that was run on Netflix, rather. And,
wasn't it a French film originally?
Yeah, it was a French film originally, I believe.
Come a long way from The Fifth Element.
And they were just all over themselves to defend cuties. But this goes too far. Suggesting that children should not be traded and abused and sold. That goes too far.
There's another layer to it. I've heard this, and it's even in this article, and it's not the first place I've seen it. It said, well, this is a dog whistle to the far right. Well, this is a dog whistle to QAnon. You know, I've been hearing this dog whistle bullshit for as long as I have been politically active. And
I hear people talk about them all the time, but I'm deaf as fuck.
Okay. And the first time I heard the phrase dog whistle, I was confused by it. Now, I could understand enough from, like, context clues to know what it basically meant, but I was like, wait, there's a secret fucking code out there that just, you know, makes people like me go stupid and turn their brain off? And, of course, this is that whole, you know, and culture thing where they're projecting onto you the thing that they themselves are actually guilty of. But as soon as I saw, well, this is a dog whistle for blah, blah, blah. So, oh, okay. So it's actually a decent movie that's got at least a kernel of truth to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a fucking dog whistle for the right.
Right. Yeah, and like, here's the article from Rolling Stone trying to smear it. Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brainworms.
Stop, I'm sold.
Exactly.
Did you say you were going to give me a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich? I'm already there.
The QAnon-tinged thriller about child trafficking is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer. So you're a bad person. I
still want to see it.
You're a bad person if your conscience is appealed to by not hurting children, by working to protect children from being hurt. Right? That's actually the argument that they're making here, is that if you are against raping children, that makes you a bad person with brainworms.
Now, obviously, there's more layers to it in between that. Like, what they say is for you to be artificially concerned. What they're trying to say is, they're not saying that raping kids is bad. They're saying you worrying about a problem that's 99% imaginary is bad. Kind of like how that time they said that black stripper got raped by those Yale kids.
Right.
So when the Rolling Stone wants to make something imaginary to highlight a problem, well, that's terrible. But when
you know, there is a significant difference between this story and the black stripper getting raped by a lacrosse team.
This one actually has some truth.
This happened.
Yeah.
This is a thing that happened.
So, and Alex jumped to something I was going to say. This movie had almost no budget. So the fact that it's already made $40 million is...
Yeah, a $40 million opening weekend is a good weekend for most films.
Thank you, Jen. It was Duke, not Yale. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It was Duke, not Yale. It's more than one person has corrected me. Thank you.
In fairness, it's been a hot minute since Rolling Stone got caught in that particular debacle. But the... Oh, okay. So there's another piece of this that I want to touch on before we wrap it up. Because America is number 3 in the child sex trafficking rankings, they wear Nike shirts as well. They're trying to corrupt the jury poll for when all these bastards are busted. Yeah, the jury pool, but yeah. So, okay. Like I was saying about this whole thing a minute ago, remember, it's not just the sex slave trade that is an issue here. UK moves to end sales of all non-electric cars by 2035. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a plan to ban sales of gasoline and diesel-powered passenger cars in the UK beginning in 2035. That's 5 years earlier than a previous commitment by the UK, and also adds even hybrid vehicles to the banned list, leaving only full electric cars as an option. So
if we don't have that slave labor, we can't meet our obligations.
Exactly.
What the fuck? Man. Woo! And why did we break away from Britain? Shit like this right here.
Shit like this shit and mushy peas. Give me
I've
food.
Never had mushy
Give me
peas.
food and freedom.
Though I have seen the thing where the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I had my fries with gravy and mushy peas," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
that's a treat."
That's
Oi, mate, you got a license for that?
You got a license for that? So, yeah, there's definitely a tinge of that need to maintain the slave state, and because part of this conversation revolves around this film, I want all of you to start thinking in this direction. I certainly am. There's a thing going on right now. The Hollywood studios writer strike is still ongoing.
This is gonna suck so bad.
And it looks like SAG-AFTRA, the Actors Guild, the Actors Union, is also planning some union action, planning a strike to begin in the not too distant future. And we're hearing now from some of the execs in the industry, with the scribe strike now finishing its 71st day and the Actors Union just 30 hours from a possible labor action of its own, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers are planning to dig in hard this fall before even entertaining the idea of more talks with the WGA. I've learned. Not Halloween precisely, but late October for sure is the intention, says a top-tier producer close to the Carol Lombardi-run AmpTip. At a time when we have just seen extraordinary evidence that there is a significant market appetite for conservative-leaning films,
or just not ridiculous left.
I was about to, and have you seen the Mario movie yet?
No.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I heard.
It's superhero brothers. They go save the princess. They fight the bad guy. There's almost no politics in there. There's a teensy tiny little bit of girl boss stuff with Princess Peach, but
Who
it's
was a
not
playable character in a couple of the games. It's
Right.
not like there's not precedence.
Exactly. And it's fun. It's a fun flick that, Mario doesn't wear a dress anywhere. It doesn't.
Because he's voiced by Chris Pratt, and Chris Pratt would.
Yeah, no
Chris
shit.
Pratt would say no.
He does end up in the cat suit for a little while, but that's one of the superpowers from the video game. It's canonical, and it's hilarious when he jumps on Seth Rogen voiced Donkey Kong and shreds his face with his cat claws. That's a pretty solid scene. But the film was a blast. It was hugely successful. It blew away everything else at the box office that weekend.
And it didn't try and be anything other than a fun little romp.
It wasn't even a conservative film. It's not pushing any particular values in your face other than strong man save the people from the bad guy, right? And it was awesome. People loved it. It made money, right? It wasn't that long ago that Top Gun came out, and it wasn't overtly political. It was just unabashedly pro-America.
Well, and you know what was funny is in that movie, that movie was absolutely diverse. When they pulled all of the top fighter pilots from all across the world and put them into the super special mission in the Top Gun movie, there were black ones, there were female ones, but...
And everybody did push-ups.
Well, that's right. Everybody did. Well, they were all there because of merit.
Right.
There was never this, well, I'm the first black female fighter pilot. There was none of that.
Right.
It was just, no, I'm a good fighter pilot. That's why I'm here.
So coming off of Top Gun, Mario, and now this, the writers are going on strike in the middle of the rise of artificial intelligence. And my guys, there is a big chunk of market share that needs to be taken advantage of.
This is part of why they're striking.
And it's going to bite them in the ass.
I think it's the primary reason they're striking.
I don't disagree. And Danny says we haven't missed any of them. No shit.
I just want to touch this. I know it's not related to the slavery thing, but there is so much in our pop culture that I hate that I think at least intersects, if it's not directly caused by writer strikes. Do you know why reality TV shows are such a thing?
Alex, I wasn't ready for it, man. I wasn't ready for it. I'm gonna have to change your last name to Jones if you don't stop being right all the time.
Okay, that was funny. Anyhow, reality TV shows. They became ascendant during a writer's strike. And they became ascendant during a writer's strike, not just because they're cheap, but because they don't require writers. Because when you're doing a reality TV show, you get a bunch of people together that are desperate for fame, and you say, hey,
do something stupid.
Yeah, here's a bunch of alcohol. Do something stupid.
Hey, drink this fifth and punch your buddy in the dick.
Hey, you know how you
see that?
You know how you...
Ow, my balls.
Okay. You know how you told me in confidence that you and your mom had a fight about a sexual encounter like 12 years ago? What would happen if you brought that up on air after you guys were like 5 martinis deep? Yeah. That's what... So now in the world of the writer's strike... in 2023, when everybody's even woker, God, what is going to come next because of the writer's strike? And look, I'm not actually on the writer's side. I think they're being quite a bit ridiculous. Like, if you're really worried that AI is going to take your job, the problem is not AI. The problem is you. Okay? So... I hate this writer's strike thing, man. We're just going to get so much more trash because of it.
It is. It's going to be like that season of Heroes where at the end of the season, the writer's strike ended, and so they had to kill off all the new characters because they were garbage.
Man, there's a good example. The first season of Heroes was one of the best seasons of television ever.
And the second season was pretty damn good, but season three, when they brought in the weird Mexican dual destruction twins thing.
No.
And then season 4 was like, okay, we're going to bring in this guy whose superpower is he opens up cracks in the earth and it murders everyone because they got to go.
Anyhow.
But yeah, season 1 was excellent.
And season 2 is when it started to fall off. As soon as they took Peter's powers away, it's like, oh, you guys are out of ideas.
So anyway, that said, I mentioned it on the show about 2 weeks ago. Yes, Danny, that was the Save the Cheerleader show. Season 1 was awesome. Season 2, I enjoyed. It wasn't as good, but it was either season 3 or 4 that they got into all this weird stuff with it was weird. It went bad. Anyway.
And then season 4 was good again, but by then they'd burned all the bridges.
Well, and then there was, I think season 5 was the one with the time travel thing, and nobody from the original series was in it except for...
No, that was the reimagining. That was Heroes Reborn.
Anyway. A week or two ago, I mentioned a project I'm working on. And when I say working on, I'm at the how do I even do this thing phase. I want to build a database of people who have various sorts of resources that can be used for filmmaking so that most especially young conservative creatives, filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers can get access to resources on a donation basis, but also so that those same young guys, like we get an 18, 20-year-old kid at a church that says, I've got an idea that I want to turn the pageant we did into a short film, but I don't know how to source. Where do I get costumes? Where do I film it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want to be able to take that kid, taking no money out of his pocket, help him make his movie, and then once he runs that movie through, he can run that movie through some film festivals, some small, even just small faith-based ones, get a little bit of a name, and come back and say, hey, I've got $20,000 to make a short film off of. So, okay, let's go back to the same pool of people and say, hey, Danny, can we borrow your classic car? Hey, Alex, can we shoot in your backyard? Hey, Mom, can I borrow the country store for an afternoon? Right? I'm going to build that thing, and the more I study it and the more I think about it and work on it, the more I think it's going to have to be a 501c3. And part of what I need from you guys, send us emails, the show at brushfiremind.com, and let us know what you're willing to contribute, if anything. And that can be time as an actor. That can be you have space, you have land or a shop or something that can be used for filming a scene, right? If you got a coffee shop where somebody could shoot a little rom-com one afternoon or middle of the night even, we'll make it work with you wherever you can. And I'll be straight up front with you, those contacts, I would like to put your emails on a mailing list. And when we get one where we need to raise a little money, you'll be on the contact list for, hey, we've set up an Indiegogo. We're trying to make, $500 so that we can buy a couple of costumes at the thrift shop, and put out a spread for the actors to eat while we film this movie one afternoon, or etc. So do send me the emails to the show at brushfiremind.com, and I'm putting together that database, and hopefully we can turn that into making some more fun stuff like the SpaghettiOs film or the
it's fine, just keep going.
The films. We've done several of these short films. I'd like to do some longer form films and all of that stuff. Danny, Pitt Danny says, I'm sure I could get you some props. Danny, you and Danny and I need to talk about going to see Pitt Danny at the warehouse. I just want you to see that. It doesn't have to happen right now or soon or too soon, but we need to go hang out with Danny sometime.
We're like 10 minutes past, man. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about that before, Alex, and I'd love to have another conversation about it.
It's expensive, hard work, yes.
But Cameron's right. We're 10 minutes over, and we've got places to be. So thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.